Welcome to Mythos AI, your source for Cliff's Notes on complex subjects. Join Anna and Phil for yet another engaging conversation.
You know, it's funny, when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's like this force of nature,
Right.
this inevitable thing.
Right.
But behind it all,
Yep.
behind every algorithm, every line of code,
Yeah.
there are people you know
Yeah.
making choices,
Absolutely.
driving the direction of the tech.
Shaping it.
And that's what we're going to look at today.
Okay.
The person behind OpenAI,
All right.
Sam Altman.
Yeah, you're right. It's easy to think about the tech itself. But you sent over some really interesting stuff about Altman, and I think it's a really good idea to maybe look at his journey a little bit. And that might give us some interesting insights into where AI is heading.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, imagine trying to understand the printing press
Right.
and not knowing anything about Gutenberg.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Because it seems like this guy's fascination with technology started early.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking 8 years old,
Wow.
taking apart an Apple Macintosh.
That's not just tinkering. That's like...
No.
That's deep curiosity, like how do these things work
Yeah.
at a fundamental level? And this is the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Owning a Macintosh back then.
That's a big deal.
That was like owning a spaceship.
Exactly.
It really speaks to the environment he grew up in.
Yeah.
That he was just naturally drawn to this stuff.
It makes you wonder how things would have been different if,
I know, right?
you know, instead of a keyboard, it was like a paintbrush or something.
Totally.
But then again, you know,
Yeah.
maybe some paths are just inevitable.
Right.
Because fast forward to college,
Yeah.
Stanford no less.
Okay.
And what does young Sam do?
What?
Drops out.
He drops out. Okay. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. He wasn't just dropping out to, like, you know,
Right.
chase some vague dream.
Mm-hmm.
He co-founded Loopt when he was 19,
Okay.
a location-based social network.
Wow.
Now remember, this is before smartphones were everywhere, before
Right.
constantly sharing your location.
Yeah, it was a novel concept.
It was a new thing.
So even at 19, he was identifying like a gap,
Yeah.
envisioning a future that other people hadn't really even thought about yet.
Yeah. You have to have vision to do that,
That's impressive.
for sure. And it caught the attention of Y Combinator.
Okay.
Loopt ended up in their first ever batch of startups.
Oh, wow. So talk about a pivotal moment.
Huge.
And, I mean, this isn't just about the success of Loopt itself, but
Right,
the doors it opened, the connections it forged.
the people you meet.
Right.
Huge.
Because, I mean, it's at YC that Altman's path really intersects with the future of AI, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
before we get into that, I think it's important to understand what happened with Loopt.
Yep.
Because even though it didn't become the next Facebook or anything,
Right.
it still ended up being acquired
Okay.
for a significant sum of money, $43.4 million.
Wow. For an app that most people, I'm guessing, have never even heard of.
Right.
That's Silicon Valley for you. But it sounds like this experience, even though it wasn't like a runaway success,
Right.
it taught him some things.
Yeah.
Valuable lessons about building a tech company,
Mm.
navigating, you know,
The ups and downs.
the ups and downs.
Entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
And those lessons would prove to be so valuable later on.
Okay.
Because in 2011, Altman takes on a new role. He joins Y Combinator.
Okay.
And by 2014, he's president.
So from startup founder to kingmaker,
That's right.
it feels significant that his journey takes him through both sides of the equation.
I agree.
You know, building something from scratch
Yeah.
and then recognizing the potential in other people's ideas.
And he wasn't just recognizing the potential, he was shaping the entire landscape.
Right.
He understood innovation needs fuel.
Yeah.
And he wasn't afraid to take risks.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Airbnb, Dropbox, Stripe, even Reddit.
Yeah.
He saw the value
Early on,
when they were rough around the edges.
yeah, like he had this sixth sense
Right.
for spotting the future,
It's like he could,
for seeing these billion-dollar ideas
yeah, he could just tell.
hiding in plain sight.
And his vision went beyond just picking winners.
Okay.
He expanded Y Combinator.
How so?
He established YC Continuity
Okay.
for later stage startups and YC Research,
Mm-hmm.
a program specifically for ambitious long-term projects.
Interesting.
This wasn't about making money. This was about pushing the boundaries.
Right. So it's bigger than that.
It's bigger.
It's about what's possible.
Exactly.
Which brings us to OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
Because by this point, it's clear that Altman wasn't satisfied with just riding the wave
Right.
of technological advancement. He wanted to be the one steering the ship.
He wants to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Totally. Steering it towards a future that I don't think a lot of people were even really thinking about yet.
Right.
In 2015,
Okay.
in the midst of all this, successful investments and drive to push boundaries, OpenAI emerges.
Okay.
But this wasn't about creating the next viral app or disrupting some industry or whatever.
It was different.
OpenAI was different.
It sounds like with OpenAI, Altman wasn't just trying to predict the future.
Right.
He was trying to define it.
Exactly.
I mean, their mission statement alone,
Yeah.
to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits everyone. Ambitious,
Very ambitious.
to say the least.
And a bit paradoxical, don't you think?
Well, yeah, I mean...
This idea of
How so?
artificial general intelligence, AGI, this almost mythical concept of an AI with human-like cognitive abilities, capable of solving any intellectual task that we can. It's kind of exhilarating, but it's also terrifying.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't, knee-deep in AI research every day,
Sure.
break down AGI for me.
Okay.
What does that actually look like?
Okay.
What's the difference between AGI and, like, the AI that's recommending my next song on Spotify?
That's a great question. And frankly, it's one that even the leading experts are still trying to figure out.
Okay.
But think of it this way.
Okay.
Your Spotify recommendations, as impressive as they might be, are based on algorithms that are trained on this massive data set of music preferences.
Okay.
It's a form of AI, for sure, but it's limited to that specific task.
Okay.
AGI, on the other hand, wouldn't be limited by those constraints.
Interesting.
It could theoretically compose its own music,
Wow.
write a novel, design a scientific experiment, all while understanding the nuances of human emotion and morality.
Interesting.
It's about replicating the adaptability and the learning capacity of the human brain.
Wow. Okay.
It's a lot.
That's a lot to process.
Yeah.
No wonder there's this mix of, like, excitement,
Totally.
apprehension around it.
Of course.
But back to OpenAI.
Okay.
They had this bold vision for AGI. But how were they going to achieve it?
Right.
What were the first steps?
So two things were clear from the get-go.
Okay.
OpenAI needed to attract the best and brightest AI researchers and give them the resources to push the boundaries of what was possible.
And I'm guessing that takes more than just a good Wi-Fi connection and a steady supply of coffee.
Way more.
We're talking serious computing power here.
Massive amounts.
Not to mention the data needed to train these models.
Oh, yeah. The data is key.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this is where Altman's strategic approach, honed through his years at Y Combinator, really comes into play.
Okay.
OpenAI was initially launched with $1 billion in funding.
Wow.
A mix of investments from its founders
Okay.
and other Silicon Valley bigwigs.
All right, so this wasn't about building a product to sell immediately.
No.
This was about
investing in the future.
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
I mean, it really shows
It shows the belief.
the level of belief in Altman's vision, but also the sheer scale of resources
Sheer scales.
required in this field.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's massive.
So with that kind of backing,
Yeah.
what were some of those early projects that started to put OpenAI on the map?
So their breakthrough came with the development of the GPT series, starting with GPT-2.
GPT-2.
These were language models, essentially AI systems, trained on massive amounts of text data, capable of generating human-quality text in response to prompts.
So, like, I remember GPT-2 causing a stir.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't they initially hold back on releasing the full model?
Yes.
Because they were worried about how it could be misused?
They were worried about the implications of releasing something so powerful into the world.
That's interesting.
GPT-2 was so advanced, so eerily human-like in its ability to generate text, that it raised some eyebrows. Even within OpenAI, the potential for misuse was huge.
Like what? Give me an example.
Generating fake news articles.
Oh, wow.
That are indistinguishable from the real thing.
Okay.
Creating spam and phishing content at a scale we'd never seen before.
Right.
It was a real concern.
So they were grappling with
Yeah.
the ethical implications of their own creation.
Huge ethical implications.
It makes you wonder if in those early days,
Yeah.
if they had any idea
Right.
just how fast this technology would evolve.
It's the age-old dilemma, isn't it?
Right.
Pushing the boundaries of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
while also trying to manage the potential consequences.
Right.
But with GPT-3,
Yeah.
released in 2020,
Okay.
those consequences became even more real.
GPT-3.
GPT-3.
That was a game changer, right?
It's huge.
Wasn't that when AI text generation really started to feel,
Yeah. Like magic.
almost magical?
Yeah.
Right?
It was a massive leap forward
Okay.
in terms of scale and capability.
Go so.
It could generate different creative text formats.
Like what?
Poetry,
Okay.
code
Mhm.
scripts,
Wow.
even musical pieces.
Interesting.
It could translate languages,
Right.
write different kinds of creative content,
Mm-hmm.
answer your questions in a really informative way,
Okay.
even if they were open-ended, challenging, or strange.
And suddenly it felt like everyone was talking about this.
I know, right?
GPT-3 wasn't just this research project hidden away in a lab.
Right.
It was something that could impact everyone,
Yeah.
from writers and artists
Totally.
to businesses and educators.
It touched everything. And with that realization,
Yeah.
with that growing awareness of AI's commercial potential,
Mm-hmm.
came a major shift in OpenAI's approach.
Okay, how so?
In 2019,
Okay.
they transitioned from a nonprofit
Mm-hmm.
to a for-profit model,
Interesting.
forming OpenAI LP.
And that was a controversial move.
Hugely controversial.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people saw it as a betrayal
Yeah.
of their original mission.
I can see that.
This idea of democratizing AI
Right.
and ensuring that it benefits everyone.
It does make you wonder
Yeah.
if they sold out
Yeah.
a little bit, right?
Yeah. That's a good question.
So they traded idealism for pragmatism
Hmm?
and a $1 billion investment from Microsoft.
Right.
I mean, that certainly softens the blow a little bit, I'd imagine.
I mean, it definitely attracted its fair share of criticism, though.
Yeah,
I mean, this is the same company that was warning about
you're right.
the dangers of unchecked AI.
Right.
And here they are.
Yeah. Are they now prioritizing profit over these principles?
Exactly.
And that lack of transparency,
Mm-hmm.
that, perceived shift in priorities,
Right.
it seemed to fuel a lot of the criticism that followed.
Yeah.
Especially around the training data
Oh, yeah.
used for their models.
That's one of the biggest criticisms.
Right.
For sure.
Because, I mean,
Because remember what we said about GPT-2?
and that potential for misuse.
Mm-hmm.
As these AI models get more and more powerful,
Right.
the question of what data they were trained on
Becomes crucial.
becomes so important.
Yes.
Because ultimately, an AI is only as good as the information it's fed.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If the data is biased,
Yeah.
incomplete,
Mm-hmm.
even intentionally misleading,
Right.
the AI is going to reflect that.
It's going to reflect those flaws.
Absolutely.
And without knowing what went into these models,
Exactly.
how can we even begin to have
Right. How
conversation about
it's-
ethics?
It's impossible.
You can't have those conversations
Right.
without knowing what's going on.
Yeah. And then there's Altman himself.
Okay.
The more prominent OpenAI became,
Yeah.
the more scrutiny I feel like he faced.
Of course.
Some of it directed at his well,
What's
that-
his communication style?
unique communication style.
Okay.
Those cryptic tweets, right?
Yes.
Hinting at the
Groundbreaking advancements,
Yeah.
but never revealing the full picture.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
I think it's a double-edged sword.
How so?
Well, on the one hand,
Yeah.
those ambiguous statements, they create buzz.
Right.
They get people talking.
Yeah, they generate excitement.
Speculation, all of that.
But on the other hand,
Right. But then on the other hand,
it can feel like he's trying to control the narrative.
totally.
Right.
Like he's playing a game
Yeah.
and we're all just,
Yeah, it's like a game of technological chess.
oh, yes.
And we're all just trying to like keep up with his moves.
And in the meantime,
Yeah.
all of the very real concerns
Yes.
people have about AI's impact on society get pushed aside.
Right. Like while he's busy hinting at the next big thing,
Exactly.
other people are asking these really important questions
Right. About things that matter.
about like job displacement,
Uh-huh.
about the potential for bias,
Guys, is huge.
right? Discrimination,
Yeah.
the future of human agency
Mm-hmm.
in this world
Yeah.
that is increasingly shaped by algorithms.
Right. We're putting so much power in the hands of these machines.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
And it's not just external critics
Right.
that are raising these concerns.
Didn't OpenAI experience a wave of departures?
They did.
People leaving?
Yeah, with key researchers
Even important people
and executives leaving the company.
citing disagreements with the direction of OpenAI under Altman.
So this shift towards commercialization,
Mm-hmm.
the close ties to Microsoft.
It makes you wonder
Right.
if the original vision is getting lost.
Right, because it's one thing for a company to change course,
Totally.
but when the people who helped build it
Who were there from the beginning.
from the ground up
Yeah.
start walking away,
Yeah, it's a red
it
flag.
makes you wonder what they see that we don't.
Exactly.
Right.
It does raise concerns about whether they're staying true to those founding principles.
Right.
To be fair, though, Altman's vision isn't all doom and gloom.
Oh.
He's a big advocate for
Like separate.
universal basic income.
UBI,
UBI.
the idea of providing everyone with a guaranteed income,
Right, essentially.
regardless of their employment status.
It's an idea that's been gaining a lot of traction.
It has.
Especially with this idea of AI-driven job displacement
Right.
on everyone's minds.
And Altman isn't just...
Right, and he's not all talk.
Right.
He's putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, how so?
He's funding research into UBI,
Okay.
advocating for pilot programs. He's even said that he believes AI will create
Oh.
enough economic output to fund UBI,
Wow.
potentially providing $13,500
Okay.
every year to every adult in the U.S.
It's a bold statement.
It's a bold vision.
It's definitely going to spark some debate.
Of course it will.
But it shows that he's thinking about
It does.
the bigger picture here.
He's thinking about the societal impact,
Right.
the technology he's creating.
Right. And it reveals another layer
Okay.
to this whole story.
To this complex individual.
Which kind of brings us to that intriguing detail
Oh, yeah.
that you shared from the research.
Okay.
This whole thing with Altman being a self-proclaimed apocalypse prepper.
Right. This guy's building our AI future,
Right.
but also seemingly preparing for it to all fall apart.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
It's
Isn't it?
total contradiction.
Yeah.
So what do we make of that?
Right. What does he see that we don't?
Exactly. Is
This
that
like genuine foresight?
Yeah. Is he just
Like a deep understanding
does he see something
of the risks
that we don't
that most of us haven't even
are not thinking about?
begun to grasp?
Or is it something else? Is it
Right.
just anxiety
Yeah.
about the very thing that he's unleashing on the world?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is.
So where does this all leave us?
Wow.
We've taken a deep dive into the life and work of Sam Altman.
We started at the beginning.
From his early days as this,
Coding prodigy.
coding prodigy,
Right.
to his role now
At the helm of OpenAI,
at the helm of OpenAI.
trying to birth AGI into the world.
We've talked about his successes,
His failures,
his controversies,
controversies, yeah.
his ambition, his anxiety.
It's contradictions for sure.
Yeah. Is he a force for good
Mm.
or a potential danger in the age of AI?
Right. I mean, is he a hero or an anti-hero in this story?
I don't think it's that simple.
I don't think so either.
You can't just categorize him as one or
Yeah.
the other.
The truth is,
Right.
his story is still being written.
Yeah. It's not over yet.
And the future he's shaping
Right.
is something we're all going to have to deal with.
It's a future full of possibilities.
That's for sure.
Both exciting and daunting at the same time.
Yeah, no doubt.
And as we continue to kind of explore, the world of AI,
Right.
we're going to bump into
Sure.
Altman's influence again and again.
Absolutely.
It's not going away.
Altman's influence is everywhere.
So I guess the question isn't just what kind of future AI will bring,
Well,
but role.
what role will Altman play?
Altman will play in shaping it.
Right.
Big questions.
Huge questions.
And I think only time will tell.
only time will tell, but it's going to be a fascinating journey
It is.
to watch it all unfold.
Well, hey, thanks so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Oh, it was my pleasure as always.
Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
And to you, our listener,
yes.
we hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on Sam Altman
Mm-hmm.
and the future of AI.
A lot to think about.
Lots to think about, and as always,
Keep those cards and letters coming.
keep those sources coming.
Right. We love hearing from you.
And we'll keep exploring.
We'll be back next time.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Mythos AI. Stay tuned for more concise insights. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe for future episodes.